work that we've done. That process is ongoing, but I can reassure the San Antonio community and all our customers that CPS Energy is ready for the winter, that we've done the work necessary to ensure a reliable system, that in the event that it gets so cold across the ERCOT market that there's some disruption of service, that our process for that has been tested, and each of my leaders will talk about the responsibility that they have for their role in the process. But again, I want to reassure the community that we have done our jobs and that we're ready to go this winter. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Brian Alonso, our chief meteorologist, to talk about our expectations for this winter. Brian.
Thank you, Rudy. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us here this morning. Let's start off where we stand at this particular time when it comes to winter. Now, officially, winter doesn't officially begin until December 21st. However, we're in what's considered meteorological winter, and that consists of the months of December, January, and February. Officially, here in San Antonio, we saw our first freeze as of Monday morning, where we got down to 31 degrees. So what does the forecast entail as we go through the next couple of months? Well, with El Nino ongoing, this is still driving our weather pattern here. So we're going to continue to expect above normal precipitation. So we'll continue to see rain chances with regularity. But as far as temperatures, that's where we start to see a little bit of variability going on. We still could see the potential of below, near, or above normal temperatures. But as we head into the latter half of January, getting into February, that's where we're going to definitely start watching for the potential of some cold snaps that could be moving in our direction. But of course, this is all still kind of long-term forecast, but this is something that we'll definitely keep a very, very close eye on as we go through the next couple of months. Now I'm going to pass it over to Benny Etheridge. He's our Chief Energy Supply Officer. He's going to talk about our plant preparedness as well as our energy supply. Benny?
Thank you, Brian. Well, good morning, folks. Our power plants are ready for the winter, as you've heard Rudy talk about. Our teams have completed the work they need to do. We've made the appropriate attestations to ERCOT. ERCOT has completed inspections at our Calaveras, Bronick locations and also STP nuclear site. All was good and no issues were identified. Teams are good to go. I guess what I would tell you is that we have one unit that is still in outage, and it'll come out of outage in early January. But during that time, we'll still have a reserve margin over 20%. So we're well prepared to meet anything the market throws at us. Our plant teams have completed weatherization activities. You recall those started with the PUC requests, phase 1 and phase 2. So they've completed that work. We've also completed our normal winterization activities, where we prepare our people, get our processes in check, and get our equipment ready to go. We've also worked with our gas supply team to make sure that our fuel yards are ready to go. So in short, the plants are ready. Our commercial team, energy market team, has completed a review of seasonal requirements for energy, fuel expectations. They've assessed our fuel reserves, and they've got the contracts in place to support our needs, all with built-in contingencies. We've also checked with the natural gas operators that serve us to assure ourselves that they're working through their procedures and getting prepared for winter also. And so with that, I'd like to turn it over to Richard Medina.
Thank you, Benny, and good morning. So first of all, I just want to do a shout out to all our crews. You know, they work out in the elements and all the extreme weather just to keep power on. So a lot of work has been done, like Rudy mentioned, just to make sure that we're all prepared for the winter. So our teams have done all their truck checks and making sure all the equipment out there is ready for this winter season. But today I just want to talk a little bit about supply and demand. So in the event if ERCOT has a supply-demand issue, they will call for controlled outages. And during these control outages, we'll have to shut power off for a certain period of time and then turn it back on. And so our teams have worked very hard to make sure that we're ready for that in the event something like that happens. And so our expectations is that we'll have power out for 15 minutes and some duration on, depending on ERCOT's request. And so typically if ERCOT has a supply-demand issue, they'll issue a notice saying, hey, all utilities need to reduce their demand. CPS Energy will reduce their demand based on 7% of what ERCOT's asking, because that is our load share. And so our teams already have tested programs to make sure that everything's in place. So with that, I just want to say thank you and turn it over to Jonathan Terrina for demand response update.
Thanks, Richard, and good morning, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank you all for being here, and then second, really start with a thank you to our customers. As you all remember, over the summer, we highlighted customer participation through our demand response program and their ability to respond and show up and participate with us to bring additional, or excuse me, to reduce the load on the grid and provide some backup services when called upon. As part of our energy transition, we have taken our lessons learned from the summer and have now implemented it into a winter program. So for the first time ever, CPS Energy is launching a winter demand response program that is available for both our residential and commercial customers to participate in. The program officially launched January 1 and will run through March 30th as a way to have an additional tool available to our operators and our team. To be responsive in the need, should there be any need from a market signal or from a demand perspective. Happy to report, as of today, we have about 65 megawatts signed up, and this is a combination of both commercial customers and residential. Those 65 megawatts equate to about 13,000 homes of demand that we will be able to call upon to reduce load on our grid. My ask, is for awareness, is that if you're in the market for a thermostat over this holiday season, we do have a program where we will give you an $85 bill credit for signing up and participating in our program. By purchasing a smart thermostat program at many local retailers, you then can sign up with us and participate in the program where we'll give you an $85 credit and then a $20 credit for participating in our winter program and then a $30 credit for the summer program. So multiple opportunities for incentives for our customers to participate and help us as we manage our demand usage over this winter holiday. With that, I'll pass it to Melissa. Thank you.
Thanks again, everybody, for being here. And Jonathan made a really great point about our customers and the role that they play and the role we will play in your help and also communicating. We talked about safety a little bit earlier, too, right? Safety is extremely important for us. So you may be familiar with our color-coded energy conservation campaign. We'll make sure you all have this in digital format as well. But we'll continue to communicate these energy levels throughout the winter. Jonathan made a really good point about the earlier time frame that we're looking at in terms of when conservation may be needed. So we'll have tips that we're going to be sharing with customers throughout the winter season in English and Spanish, both for residential and commercial customers. But then also we want to also remind our customers to update their emergency contact information with us. Customers have told us that they really appreciate the messaging that we're sending out, whether it be inclement weather. And as the summer showed as well, we had to send some conservation notices out. So really encourage customers to update their emergency contact information with us, and we'll continue to share that information and how to do that throughout this winter season too. I am going to turn it back to Rudy. He's going to give some closing remarks, and then we'll have some time for Q&A.
Well, as the team, and this is the team that functionally is responsible for elements of our effort, during the winter season. But I want to recognize all the team in the room. We've got, every leader is responsible ultimately for the service that we provide to our customers. And as Richard mentioned, the folks out in the field are the ones that get it done every day. And so we got to give a shout out to them. All 3,600 of our 3,600 of our employees have to do their jobs for us to be successful. And I feel good that we've got the right focus heading into the winter. As Jonathan mentioned in particular, I do feel really great about the work that we've done communicating to our customers. Our customers show up every single time we ask for a reaction from them when the market gets tight. They show up. And while, customers might get fatigued with the amount of conservation requests that we saw this past summer, I will tell you that they showed up every time. And we've got great collaboration with both our residential and our commercial customers. I think ERCOT is doing a great job a better job of communicating to the market real time what's going on within the ERCOT market, and that allows us to follow suit and communicate those conditions to our customers. And so I feel like our customers are getting more information than they have in the past. and information is key to allowing them to make decisions about their own plans. If we find ourselves in a condition where we're San Antonio is under a freeze, road conditions are difficult. The amount of advance notice we can give them that's coming gives them a chance to get to a family member's home or to do whatever they need to do to be safe, which quite frankly was a challenge during Winter Storm Uri. So when you think back to that time, we're communicating better. Our load shed system is more robust. We're doing the winterization outside of the peak the peak times of the season that allow us to ensure we have maximum resources available. So again, all the things we learned from Winter Storm Uri continue to be applied as we head into this winter. So I'm going to stop there and see if you have any questions. Garrett.
Rudy, a lot of people still have, I guess we'll call it PTSD from February 2021. What do you tell them about, comparatively your preparedness now to then? Why should they believe you now?
Well, again, the proof's in the pudding, right? I mean, we got to earn their trust as we get through every season. But we have not had an event since Winter Storm Uri, and our track record has to factor in. So it all whether or not we have an issue depends on so many variables. How cold is it? How cold across the entire state of Texas is it? What resources are available? What resources aren't available? So we're focused here on the things that we control, but a maximum reliable CPS Energy is good for the state of Texas as well, and I feel like we've done our job to be ready.
In regard to the wider state, one of the big problems from the February 2021 freeze was those rolling brownouts. They were supposed to be, I think, every 50 minutes on, 50 minutes off. Some people were saying we had just enough time to notice the light was on.
Yeah.
So part of CPS Energy's fixes after the freeze had been to rearrange how you were wiring those circuits. Can you tell me how would rolling brownouts forced by ERCOT work now?
Well, Richard mentioned it. I'll just reiterate that the experience was ERCOT was asking for more load than we really had programmed in our system, which is why the experience was what it was. Customers rightfully were upset because there wasn't a rolling situation. Every bit of load we had to give, we were giving in that moment. Now there's more customers in the system than there were before. We've really kind of pared back what we consider to be truly emergency, load, hospitals, things of that nature, that you keep out, the saws, water pumps, we fixed that. So you wouldn't see an electric, issue on top of a water issue, which I think was really what caused the customer outrage to a great extent. So, based on what we learned from Winter Storm Uri, now, in the event we get into a load shed situation, a controlled outage situation, customers should see 15 minutes off and then hours on, depending upon how much load that ERCOT's asking us to give them. One thing that we have done since then is we've created a much more robust dialogue with our commercial customers. We got a lot of commercial customers who have generation of their own, for resiliency purpose that we can go to and say, hey, we need you to go off, system for the next couple of hours, for us to be able to be responsive to ERCOT. So, if it's a smaller amount, I think the likelihood is we could probably cover that with just commercial customers, doing their thing and getting off the system and allowing us to reduce our load, by that amount. But if residential customers are impacted, then it's going to be our expectation is it's going to be a much better, much more, manageable experience going forward.
Rudy, that kind of takes me into a question about the commercial aspect of the response demand program. Do you guys know how many megawatts is specifically commercial, that 65? And how are y'all trying to get more commercial customers on the program? Because a lot of residents feel like they shouldn't have to turn their power off if, HEB and USAA are using power.
Yeah, so the numbers right now is almost 50-50. It's about 24 megawatts, of commercial customers that have committed to participate in the program, with another projected 40 on the residential side. The advantage is that on the residential side, we're using the existing thermostat program, so it's a lot easier to acquire their participation I would say, I see her in the room, but quite honestly, we wouldn't be able to do any of this outreach without our customer team. So under the leadership of Deanna Hardwick, our Chief Customer Officer, and our partnership with our key accounts, we are actively engaging with all of our largest customers to educate them and have them sign up on this program. So while the numbers are lower right now, I do anticipate additional megawatts coming. But I will also say, just for awareness and make sure we're doing a fair comparison, we will not see a similar type of program from a megawatt perspective that we see in the summertime, right? The loads and the usage are a lot higher. So when you have that type of reduction during the summertime, you will, it's not an apples to apples comparison, right? So we think we can maybe achieve up to about 142 megawatts in a winter program, which is equivalent to a peaker, right? That's a lot of homes potentially that we could bring, that we could keep running by using that program. So I think a lot more to come. That's why the first year out of the program, and we will be actively having people sign up through March.
If I'm in the summer program, am I automatically in the winter program, or?
You are, and it's all the same T's and C's. So you have the ability to obviously opt out as a customer. But if you're enrolled in the program, you've actually already been enrolled for 12 months. We've just never formalized to actually say we're running a specific winter program. So there will be communications that are going out. Actually, they went out today to the residential customers about the program. And if they have questions, there's a link where they can come back and ask questions and get verification.
And the $30 credit for the summer, 20 for the winter, so it's a $50 credit total if you're participating year-round.
If you're participating year-round, you're getting a $50 credit.
And that's in addition to the $85 you're getting back in the thermostat.
One time $85 when you buy your thermostat and you sign up in the program, $20 winter, $30 summer, year-round for every year you participate.
And we'll get you that background information, the information John.
And let me just reiterate, you don't really know. It's super unpredictable. You don't know until you're in the moment. With the conditions, whatever they might be. What the situation is going to be. But I'll tell you, we don't just watch the weather coming in and hope for the best. I mean, we start communicating with our customers immediately to ask our school systems to shut down what they can, to ask our office buildings to shut down what they can. You'll see us shutting down our parking lot lights and doing the things that we can do at our facilities. So there's formal programs like Jonathan's talking about, and then there's a lot of voluntary stuff that happens that help us kind of get the last bit of conservation that we can possibly get. But I'll tell you, there's not a more robust conservation effort than what happens here in San Antonio in the state of Texas.
Can you talk a little bit about how you guys are trying to shore up reliability on the generation side as far as Zell's portfolio?
Well, let me just say this. It starts with ensuring that we have enough dispatchable generation in the wintertime to cover our load. And we've got, as Benny mentioned, we've got 20% more generation in our plan than what we think we'll need for our winter peak. But you also have the work that we do on a daily basis, buying, opportunistically buying, power when we think we might need it. So we've got kind of a full, portfolio of resources available. Again, we might get some wind, in a haze of winter. You're not going to expect much out of solar, but we factor in, that condition into our program. So our team has done the work to have the resources that we believe that we're going to need to cover, and it all starts with our plants being available. That is number one. Benny, you got anything to add to that?
Well, I could just add that. So we do winterization activities and we do weatherization activities. Weatherization are unique in that these activities, this additional insulation, heat trace, enclosures, were all driven by the PUC request that we lower our standard, which we did. We targeted a 0 degree, 30 mile an hour wind standard. The PUC standard for our area, I think, is 8.34 degrees. So we're surpassing that standard, and we've done the work to make sure our units are prepared for that. Then we have a strong winterization program where we do the temporary heat, supplemental heating, and so forth. Beyond that, we train our people. We go through refresher training every year. We top off supplies. We check our processes, make sure they're all still good. We stock up on additional materials. We also check our contracts, make sure our contractors are ready to go, all as contingency planning in the event we have an issue.
Speaking of which, 2021, which of your units or generation sources had issues because of the weather, and what have you done differently to prepare them this time around?
So we saw issues on each category of our units, and what we've done is lower the standard. That sounds funny. What we've done is improve the standard and push down to a 0 degree, 30 mile an hour wind requirement for these units. And so we engaged an engineering company that came in, did the appropriate design work, and then we've had crews in the field making those changes.
And can you talk a bit more about what do preparations look like when you're getting these plants weatherized and then winterized?
So we have a winterization program. We have a summer preparation program. For the winter, we work through refresher training for all of our people, including an ERCOT class, on preparations. We check processes. We go through, we review all the procedures we've got for operating during inclement weather, emergency conditions, and so forth. Make sure there's been no changes in equipment and such. Sometimes during the year you replace equipment, so you make sure everything is still included and is appropriately checked. Then you get into inspections. We have our seasonal readiness outages that we perform where we take the units offline and do routine maintenance activities. And we also check systems, heat trace systems, for example. Many miles of cable that provide heating to piping. We've got the insulation that goes on top of that. All of that has to be inspected and verified that it's working. We've got temporary enclosures we add, and as I said, we've also added some permanent enclosures this year. So we get all those in place. We get supplemental heating in place. We get fuel for the liquid fuel supplemental heating. We get the electrical circuits checked out that provide the electrical heating, and then we have reserve heaters in place. So when all of that's done, the units are ready to go. Supplies are topped off. In other words, we make sure we've got adequate reserve capacity and of the parts that we might need, including the materials we would need and supplies. And then once that's done, we're ready to start the season. And that's what our team has done.
You mentioned that there's one unit offline right now. Which one is it, and why?
So that would be Summers 2, and it's a continuation of a planned outage we've had. We were trying to finish up by mid-December. We found some additional work, and we didn't want to take a chance on trying to push through the winter season with that work outstanding. We thought it better to hold back, make those repairs, and then release the unit just a little bit late. In consultation with our commercial team, we know that we've got over 20% reserve capacity, more than adequate based on the weather forecasts you've heard. So it was really just a decision to get ahead of it.
Yeah, and let me just reiterate, Summer's one of our oldest units, and we're running the heck out of our plants. You know, we ran the heck out of our plants this past summer. So the older the unit is, the more work that you're going to find, you know, needs to maintenance work that you're going to find that needs to happen to get it ready for the winter. So the older our plants get, the more difficult it is to keep them up and running, which, you know, is why the work that we're doing on our overall generation plan is so important. You know, the investment that we just got the community, you know, to back us up on is so important. You know, we've got 5,000 megawatts of generation to build to get out ahead of the, you know, couple of units that we're going to have to retire here, you know, in the next 5 years. So, but I will say this, for the age of our units, of some of our units, the team's doing a heck of a job keeping those things running.
One more point. We have time for one more question, and we'll stick around and
Sure.
get you all the background.
Yeah.
We'll go down for
We'll go.
Rudy, you said and everyone said that you guys are pretty much ready. That's what we're hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you concerned that ERCOT CEO is saying that there is a risk this winter? What does that mean for CPS?
Yeah, so you look, you know, I think ERCOT has done all the things that they can do to try to create capacity, and you know they've actually the PUC here recently made some changes to what happens when you're in an extended emergency condition to ensure that the prices don't get to $5,000 a megawatt and stay there. There's actually a process now where they would lower that to $2,000 a megawatt to protect the public from, you know, some of the pricing issues that we saw during Winter Storm Uri. So, you know, I think the state has done what they can. But again, you know, until you know in the moment, you know, that the plants that you think are going to be available are there, you know, ERCOT has to hedge a little bit to ensure that they're being honest with the public about the possibility of an issue. Now, they run all their scenarios based on weather patterns and what they think is going to happen, and what they're saying is, if in these worst case scenarios there's a 7% chance, or whatever the number that they're quoting is, that you might have an outage issue if all those conditions exist, and if whatever baseline generation that they think might not be available isn't available, then you might get into that situation. So I think that's an example of ERCOT being honest with the public about what the realities are of our market. Again, we've said it. I've said it before. I've heard Pablo, who I think is an excellent leader at ERCOT, say it as well. Until we get more steel in the ground, until we get more base load built, which the state of Texas is trying to incentivize in all kinds of ways, we're going to build our own here in San Antonio to do our part. You got what you got, and you got to ensure that you're trying to keep the plants that are available running. And I think all operators across the state of Texas have heard loud and clear that we've got a job to do to ensure reliability, and all we can do here in San Antonio is ensure our plants are ready.
Well, thank you, everybody. We've got to get some folks out, but our team is here for any other questions, and we have some additional information to send you all. Thank you all again for coming. We appreciate it.